Hi, friends. A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's IxDF session on strategic visual hierarchy, turning complexity into clarity. In many digital products, the challenge is not the amount of information, it's how the information is presented. When everything looks equally important, user feels lost. But with the right visual hierarchy, designers can guide attention, create clarity, and make even complex applications feel simple and intuitive. To share the insights on the topic, we have Romal Raju, an interaction design analyst who is passionate about transforming complex digital solutions into clear, intuitive user experiences. So let's welcome Romal as he takes us through the topic how strategic visuality can bring order and clarity to digital design. Over to you, Romal.
Yeah, thank you, Param, for that warm welcome. So, good afternoon, all. And today we will be discussing about visual hierarchy and how it helps the user to make a decision faster on a screen. So, first of all, let's see what is visual hierarchy. So, visual hierarchy is the way designers arrange elements on a screen so users know what to look at first, second, and third. And basically, it guides the user's eye through the interface in a clear and meaningful order. So whenever you lands on a screen, you won't read the content first. You will be basically scanning the screen for the first few seconds. And visual hierarchy helps the users quickly understand what is the most important element, what they should read first, and what action should they take. So a good visual hierarchy enables the user to make decision faster. So since the user don't have to look around for the information, they see the information faster and they make the decision faster. It also helps the user to make decision more easily with less cognitive load. And of course, there are situations where we have to break certain rules of visual hierarchy. And this is an example, like this is a pricing section on a landing page. So here you can see there's a hierarchy, like we have a title and we have a description. But when you come to this section, the pricing card right here, you can see the middle one is getting more attention, or it's actually highlighted. It's having a thick stroke with the gradient. It's also having a primary action right here, also a tag on top of it. So the reason is because it's actually a marketing strategy by the team. So I would say an example like you want to buy a Samsung TV and you go into a TV store, but the shopkeeper is keep on convincing you to buy a Sony TV. Like Sony is having much more feature and you can get Sony for much more affordable price. So you will obviously go with Sony. But this kind of patterns like it's really common in all kind of like sales pages. So if you look at this one, the stakeholders of this product really knows this is a pricing page, and the users tends to spend a lot of time here. So they have actually highlighted the best selling package, and it's kind of recommending the user that you should obviously go for the middle one. So it reduces the user's decision making time, and basically most of the users will be going for this package. And again, this is a call that need to be taken by the stakeholders and the business owners. But as a designer, we always have the room to break certain rules of visual hierarchy in certain situations like this. So now let's see the foundations of visual hierarchy. So there are four pillars: the color, typography, spacing, and layout. So now let's see each of them in detail. So as I said before, users don't read the content first. Instead, they scan the screen within first few seconds. And colors are one of the strongest visual clues that helps the user understand what the screen is about, what they should do next, and which element to focus first. And in interaction designing, color is not just about making things look attractive. It's a functional tool that guides attention, support decision making, and helps users interact with the system confidently. So now let's see what is a primary focus. So primary focus is the first point of attention. Like primary focus is the most important element on a screen, like most important element or component or a specific area on a screen. So this is usually the action that the designer wants the user to take immediately when he lands on a screen. One of the example would be the login button. And the primary elements uses a strong contrast, high saturation, or brand colors so they stand out from everything else. So if you look at this example right here, you can see we have a login page and we have multiple components in it. Like we have text boxes, we have link buttons, we have check boxes. But the attention, like once you land on the screen, the first thing that you will be noticing will be this login page. The login button. It's not because you read the text, but it's because of that blue contrasty color right here. And again, in interaction designing, we follow a strict rule that there should only be one primary action per screen. Like if you look at this example, you can see there are three primary buttons. So the problem with this design is that once you enter the email address and password, you get confused, like which one to choose, like whether I should go with login or whether I should go with sign up or whether I should go with forgot password. Like you don't understand the association with the email and password right here. But if you compare it with the second one, you can see there's a clear association or a clear hierarchy in this design. So once you enter the email and password, you clearly knows that you need to click on the login button. And again, if you need to sign up, you have a secondary button. And if you need to change the password, you have a link button right here. So now let's see what is a secondary focus. So secondary focus are basically the supporting components, or it should never compete for attention with the primary action. So basically, these are not critical elements, but again, uh, some of the example would be the cancel, skip, and save for button. And these elements uses like neutral colors, outlines, low contrast versions of primary color. So again, we have an example right here. This is a card, and if you look into this area, you can see that we have the primary button right here, and this is the primary action. And again, to support this primary action, we have the secondary action. That's the pricing and the secondary button, the continue to shopping. And again, if you look into this card, you can see the primary focus. That's the image, like the image, the videos, motion graphics. These all things can be wisely used to grab the user's attention. This would be the primary focus. And then we have the secondary focus, like the title, the pricing to support this primary element. Now let's see the tertiary focus. So the tertiary focus are basically the supporting components. Like it should never compete for attention with primary and secondary elements. Like if you look at this example, we have the primary action, that's the button right here. Then we have the secondary action, that's the input field right here. But if you hover on this field right here, you can see there's a tooltip popping in. So that's actually a tertiary focus. So tertiary focus are like it's not mandatory that users should see it or read it, but again, it can help the user in navigating through the product. Then we have multiple interaction states, like visual hierarchy doesn't stop at static screens. It continues the moment the user start interacting with the product. So there are multiple interaction states like hover, focus, active, disable, loading, etc. So these states exist to answer one simple question, like what's happening on the screen right now. And interaction state provide feedback. They reassure users that the system has noticed their action and is responding. So you can see multiple type of interaction states here. We have the default primary button, then we have the hover state, then we have the active state and the disabled state. So now let's dive into the second pillar, that's the typography. So in color, we have seen the user start scanning the screen first. And once they scan the screen, they start to read the content. And color may attract the eye, but typography controls the way the user reads and understands the content. So once the user start reading, they subconsciously ask, where should I begin? What is important? What is secondary? And can I skip this? So typography answers all these questions visually through heading levels, paragraph structures, spacing, weight, and alignment. So typography creates a proper reading pattern for the user. So when the user lands on a screen, the first thing that he will be noticing will be the heading. So heading should give the user an idea about what the page is about, what are the main sections, and where should the user focus. So there are multiple heading levels, like you may probably know this, like H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. So H1 is basically used for the page titles, and H2, H3 is commonly used for the section titles, and H4 for subsection headings, like commonly used for card titles and form sections. Then we have H5, which is commonly used for label level heading, like for table heading, field group labels, etc. Then we have H6, which is micro heading, commonly used in tooltips, captions, helper text, etc. Also, I have given the ideal size for each heading levels. Like again, it can differ from font to font and from product to product, but this is the most commonly used size for each heading types. Now we have the weights in typography. So font weight controls how dark, strong, and a loud text feels. It doesn't changes what the user reads first, but it changes what they notice. So basically, the font size means the hierarchy, and font weight means the emphasis. Like if you look into this example, you can see there is a clear font size difference between this text. But again, you can't probably understand the emphasis, or cannot probably understand the hierarchy in this design. But if you compare it with the second one, you can see how the weight brings proper emphasis to the title. So first thing that you will be noticing will be this title, and again we have a description and the caption right here. So while defining the weight for a font, it completely depends on the typeface that you choose. So here I have actually compared two typefaces, the Montserrat with Poppins. For this comparison, I have taken 80 pixels and the weight as regular. So if you compare the Montserrat regular with the Poppins regular, you can see the Poppins regular is having more weight compared to the Montserrat. But again, if you compare Poppins regular to Montserrat medium, you can see those two are kind of identical. So these kind of things need to be taken care while designing the design system. Now we have the paragraph spacing and alignment in typography. So users don't read the paragraph fully or carefully. Like they scan and they read the important parts in that paragraph. So like long paragraph feels like it's heavy and scary, but short paragraph feels like it's easy and comfortable. And 2 to 4 lines per paragraph is really ideal for the screen. So again, we can use another important tool, that's the bullet points. Like whenever there's a huge paragraph, to break that long text, we can basically introduce bullet points to highlight the important points in that paragraph. Then again, if you come to this example right here, you can see there is a huge description there. Like it's in a card and we have a scroll inside the card. Like no one even uses this scroll inside the card. So the first thing that the user notices would be this image, and after that he will be reading the title, and after that he will be reading first few lines of the description, and they are not going to scroll. But if you compare it with the second one, we can see first the user sees the image, he's reading the title, and if he's interested, he reads the first few lines. And again, if he's still interested in this card, he can click on explore more and see or read the entire thing in a different page. So one more example would be this comparison. Like you can see how weirdly the fonts are arranged here. Like there's primary colors everywhere. Like everything feels like it's important. And if you compare these cards, like these icons with the primary button right here, you can see that it feels like it's clickable. Like everything in the screen feels like important. And there's no proper hierarchy in this design. But if you compare it with the second one, you can see here you can see the count is actually visible. If you compare it with the first one, that's not properly visible. The contrast is really low. And again, if you compare the title with the first one, you can see there's a proper consistent font is used. And again, the address as well. Like here, the contrast is really poor, and here you can see proper contrast with proper typography hierarchy. And again, in the review section as well, I feel like it's completely clickable, like since the primary color is used. But again, coming to this one, you can see that we have given a clear link button here just to click and see more reviews. And again, to the icons, you can see that it's in the second one, it feels like it's just an information, but in the first one, it feels like it's something clickable. And again, in the description as well, it's the alignment is to the center, but the entire screen is actually left aligned. But here you can see there's proper line height maintained, and the alignment is also correct. And again, the primary button, like it doesn't feel like a primary button, but in the second one, you can see there's a proper primary button given. Now let's see the reading patterns in typography. So there are multiple reading patterns like F pattern, Z pattern. So basically F pattern is that the user reads from left to right, and then they scroll down, then they read again from left to right, and then they scroll down. So here's a heat map of a reading pattern, F pattern. And again, we have the Z pattern. Basically, user read from top left to top right, then moves diagonally to bottom left to bottom right. Then we have the cake layer pattern. So basically, the user reads the important or the title of each sections. Then we have the spotted pattern. Basically, user spots something important and reads the content related to it. Then we have marking pattern. So one of the example for marking pattern would be the form fields, and in the form we can have multiple sections. So user have to mandatorily read that sections to fill out those forms. So that's an example for marking pattern. Then we have bypass pattern. So in case of paragraphs, like users won't read the paragraph completely, so they just skip few words and read the important important words in that paragraph. Then there is commitment pattern. So user reads the page completely. So now let's see the accessibility and contrast. So a design is not successful if the user cannot perceive it clearly. So even if you have a really good design, really visually good or visually attractive design, but if it's not delivering what the user needs, or if it is not having a proper UX, then the design is of no use. So a good interaction design starts with sufficient contrast between text and background. This ensures the readability across different lighting conditions, screen qualities, and visual abilities. So the users may not be using the product in ideal conditions. Like some of them will be using the product in outdoor bright sunlight. Some of them will be using in older devices with poor quality, and some of them will be having the visual deficiencies. So we have to design, or we have to optimize the contrast of each colors so that every user can access it properly. So here we have an example like how contrast plays an important role in building hierarchy. So in the first one, you can see there's a proper text or proper title, but after reading the title, user get confused like which one to focus next. But if we compare it with the second one, you can see there's a title. After that, the color is actually dragging my eye towards it, and I can actually understand that this is the second priority thing. And basically, I read the content, and after that, I will move towards this progress area and basically scroll through the product. So many users can't distinguish the color due to color deficiencies, and in such cases, the message is completely missed. So if you look at this example, you can see there's two toast messages, and if a person with color blindness comes in and sees the first message, he cannot understand. Initially, he cannot understand this is a error message because he have to read the text manually. But if he sees the second image or second toast message, he can immediately understand. Even if he cannot understand the color, he can immediately understand the message because we have used an icon right here. So color alone cannot provide proper accessibility. Like we have to combine it with multiple UI elements to provide proper accessibility to the product. Now we have a contrast cheat sheet, and it's actually based on WCG 2.1, and based on 2.1, the AA must be minimum for the contrast pass, and for the normal text, it's around 4.5 is to 1, and from larger text to UI elements, it's 3 is to 1. So here's an example, like we have a button and on top of that we have a text actually. So this is actually a ocean blue color on a, sorry, a white color on an ocean blue surface. So if you look at this combination, you can see it's actually passing 4.5 is to 1. Like small text on this color is 4.5 is to 1. So passing. And again, if you compare the ocean blue color with the surface, you can see it's 4.1 is to 1. Ideally, it should be 3 is to 1. So that's also passing. And if you compare the second one, you can see the black on top of this fluorescent color. It's actually 9.5 is to 1. So that's actually passing. And if you compare this button background to the surface right here, you can see it's only 1.1 is to 1. So ideally it should be 3 is to 1. So this one is not passing the guideline. So again, we have an example for the larger text on the button as well. So now let's see the spacing in visual hierarchy. So the spacing helps the users understand quickly, structure quickly, and see the relationship between elements, reduce confusion, and focusing on important content and scan faster. So there are different type of spacing like micro spacing, macro spacing, and white spaces. So micro spacing is basically the small space inside the components like the padding, the gap, the margin, etc. Then we have the macro spacing, basically the large space between sections. Like one of the example would be the space between the header and the body, and the space between two cards can be an example for macro spacing. Then we have the white spaces. So the unused space is called white space. So we can use white space wisely to design minimal and clean design. But again, if we don't use it wisely, it can be a mess as well. Like if you look at this example, you can see there's a lot of white space and it feels like really weird for the user, but we have to use them wisely. And again, comparing this to example, if you look at the second one, you can see there's a proper typography hierarchy, and again, proper contrast is used. But again, you cannot properly read it because it feels like it's cluttered. And if you compare it with the first one, you can see there's a proper spacing hierarchy given. So it provides a proper readability to the user. So again, coming to the second one, you can see there's a lot of white space in the design. And again, if you see, there's a proper label for each of these contents, and like users don't need this labels. Like they are able to understand like what is this, like what is this pizza name, or what is $15 means, or what does 4.3 means. So if you compare it with the second one, you can see there is a bold text or a bold pizza name given, and then uh, there's a pricing given, and again the rating is given. Along with that, there is a star is given, so it represents its rating. And then we have the description, again shorten the description and reduced its prominence compared to the first one. So now let's see the layout in design. So layout is about how visual elements are arranged in a screen. So if color attracts the attention and typography helps the user to read clearly, layout controls where the eye moves next. So first of all, we need to understand what a grid is. So grid is a structure made up of rows and columns, and it helps the designers arrange the content on a screen. So there are different type of grids like column grid, modular grid, hierarchical grid, baseline grid, and manuscript. So column grid basically consists of multiple columns, and we arrange the elements according to these columns. Then we have modular grid, basically splits the screen into multiple equal parts, and we will be arranging the content based on that. Then we have hierarchical grid. So based on the priority, we will be arranging multiple elements on the hierarchical grid. And again, in the baseline grid, we will be the baseline grid is basically used for typographies, like arranging the typography with a proper spacing. Then we have manuscript. Again, it's for the typography, like for blogs, for the news articles, where the large amount of text comes in. Again, we have the scale types. So uh, there are multiple scale types like 4-point grid system, 8-point grid system. There is 2-point grid system. So basically, if we are following 4-point grid system, the every element like the spacing, padding, corner radius, every property should be the multiple of 4. So basically, we combine these things with the grids. Like one of the example would be the 4-point grid system along with the column grid and baseline is a really good example. Like this is one of the common thing that we use while designing the layout. So let's do a recap. And in the colors, we have actually seen what is color and how it creates the hierarchy. Then we have seen primary, secondary, and tertiary focus. Then we have seen the contrast and accessibility. Then in typography, we have seen what typography is, the multiple levels of headings and paragraph spacing, alignment, etc. And again, in spacing, we have seen multiple type of spacings and how spacing builds a proper visual hierarchy. And in layout, we have seen multiple type of grids and multiple type of scale types. So that's it. Thank you.